to the Tamera Mowry of it all. How do you guys feel about the Mowry twins? Before I get into the scandal, I know that there are people who are very much like team one or the other. I personally am team both. Okay. Um, I know that they both have their moments where they could be a little bit off, okay? But we all have our moments when we can be a little bit off or we can be a little bit problematic. It's just part of the human experience, right? But now it really seems like Tamera might have stepped in it and she's getting exposed by her former personal trainer. I've got videos, I've got screenshots, I've got photos, I've got it all. Let's get into this, you guys. It hurts my heart because Tamera, I always saw her as like the cute, sweet one, and it is true that her husband, Adam Housley. So, before I get into the story, let's kind of tee up the situation of her husband. Her husband has said a lot of very disturbing things over the past few years, including do you remember when teenage Trayvon Martin was profiled and, killed by the neighborhood watchman, right? And somehow the neighborhood watchman got off on those charges. Adam, who is married to a biracial Black woman and has some children who are part Black, he was championing the man who went out of his way to randomly assassinate a teenager who was minding his own business, right? So that's when we all first started going, oh, wait a minute. There's something weird about this. How this doesn't make any kind of sense, right? And then most recently, he went on some sort of a rant against people using food stamps and saying that they were only using it to buy junk food. And then they were also buying alcohol, all sorts of things. And he said that these were things that he noticed as a 13-year-old, which is very weird that a 13-year-old would be pocket watching people or to really understand any of this stuff, right? So he just has a lot of hatred in his heart, it seems like, for poor people, for people of color, and just anybody who is not him, right? Who is a person who comes from. And here's the thing, because a lot of people are dragging Tamera right now, right? And so in doing so, they're resurfacing old clips of hers. So we were always sold the story that Adam comes from a rich family, they own a vineyard, they own a grocery store, all sorts of things. So tell me why I was minding my own business yesterday at 1 a.m. when I should have been sleeping, scrolling through Instagram, when I find clips of Tamera proudly boasting about how she paid for her wedding to that man entirely. I found that to be very odd, right? So this man doesn't like people getting anything for free. He comes from this family with all this money. He makes his own money, as a reporter and whatnot. And he's having his wife pay for that wedding entirely. I found that to be weird, right? So that was one thing that she had said. And then in the next season, or in another conversation about that wedding, she changes the story and claims that she, Adam, and different family members all contributed to it. I don't know where the truth lies. I personally am of the belief that Tamera paid for it all, in which case, why? Why? I feel like it's one thing if you're marrying someone who doesn't have the money, right? And you're this big star, okay, go for it, whatever. But this guy supposedly has money. So why would he let you, pay for it all? I feel like it's weird. Anyway, so that's kind of a little bit of the background on him. And forget the wedding thing. That's just me getting distracted and bringing up something that has no relevance to the story. Okay. So back to the personal trainer, right? So Tamera's former personal trainer is named Nita Sodefkist. Sorry, I probably butchered her name. And she has a lot to say about Tamera. She says that Tamera isn't the sweet girl you think she is. She says that Tamera shares the same ideology as Adam, which again is a very hateful ideology. It seems to be anti-Black. It seems to be anti, people who are struggling, right? And it's a very kind of classist ideology, right? And she went on video, posted this TikTok about how, based off of working with Tamera and being close with her formerly for years, she knows that Tamera shares the same views. Take a look.
I was Tamera's trainer for 3.5 years. And, I started working with her when we were in Los Angeles, and I would even go to the talk show. I would go out of my way, drive all the way from Malibu, just to take care of her. I fixed a lot of her spine issues. But here's the long story short. Yes, there is a lot I could expose. There's a lot I could share. But at the end of the day, I gave it to God. And I walked away from her, but I'm just going to let you know this. And I don't have to show you receipts. I'm letting you know She agrees with everything with Adam, and she is not who she shows herself being. I mean, I wish she could just be honest about it. Okay? That's it. That's all I can tell you.
So there you go. I want to know how y'all feel about that. So at first I went, okay, can we even verify that this person really was Tamera's friend and trainer, right? So I went, did some digging on the gram, and what do I find? This is a photo. Remember when you used to have like the Regram app and stuff to like reshare people's like Instagram posts? So she shared this one that Tamera had tagged her in, right? And so in it, Tamera is talking very highly, speaking very highly of her and how she helped transform her body, help her with pain, and just, just really helping her tone up and everything, right? So she shared that. So there's confirmation that she did indeed work with Tamera. And then when it comes to the type of person that this woman is, right? Tamera's former trainer, Anita, she is someone who goes and champions for immigrants, right, and migrants and whatnot. And she preaches about loving all people. She speaks up against, white privilege and things like that. So it really seems like she walks the walk. And this is not exactly like a performative thing for her, right? Take a look at this other, image that she shared talking about making America kind again, all sorts of things. She really seems to have a good heart. And so, just based off of that, I'm going to say, you know what, girl, I believe you. And that's not all that she had to say, actually, about Tamera. Let's get into some of the other screenshots that I picked up in the comment section of the video, right? So somebody said, wow, Tamera Mowry, Proverbs 12, chapter 12, verse 22, and then another chapter and verse to look into. Anita said, one of the reasons I left her was she utilized Jesus Christ, Bible verses, and God as she betrayed people. And that is the biggest sin. And I can't be a part of that. Another thing that she had said was in response to someone saying that we can tell this by her and Tia's relationship. Their kids aren't even growing up together for real. They're twins. That's very uncommon. To which Nita responds, which breaks my heart. It's always a show. Everything you see their pictures, always a show. No one really knows behind the scenes, but I was there. I saw it. And then she also said, someone commented, now everyone can leave Tia alone for being herself, shaking my head. Nita, you are so correct. And it's really sad because their mother plays a role in using them against each other. Now, that is something that is new to me. I have heard criticisms about how weird it is that the twins are, not super close. Their kids are barely seeing each other. Tamera's not really all that present right now, like supporting her twin sister through a divorce. She didn't even know that her twin sister was filming a reality show about her divorce. Obviously, something is off there, right? And we've all been talking about it online for years now, or at least months at the very least. And so that's something I hadn't seen, though, about the mom playing a role in the division. And so someone said, what's wrong with being one with her husband? Nita said, you should look up Adam Housley and what he just said about people on food stamps. I don't think a white privileged man should ever speak that way, and his wife stands with him as well. So it seems as though the Sweet Girl Act is just that, an act. She doesn't actually care about, people who are struggling in life. And, I'm going to come back to the comments that you guys are leaving. Thank you so much, by the way, for leaving them in the live chat. But there was one that flew by earlier where someone said, like, it's crazy that he would be judging what like people who are just trying to get by are spending the little money that they get on, right? And I do agree with that. And so Bilal says, don't you mean Tamega? And then Nita responded with the laughing emojis. She is done with Tamera. She wants nothing to do with her, and she is really letting it be known that she's not who the world thinks that she is. And she's letting it be known that it's all a performance. Even when they get together with Tamera on occasion, they really do not mess with each other like that behind the scenes. And I want to know how you guys feel about that, which of course I am about to make my way over to the comment section to see what some of y'all have been saying. Thank you so much to Ashley for becoming a new member to the channel. So excited to share the exclusives with you. Hey, Trent, nice to see you. Trent, we've missed you around these parts. How you doing? Trent with the super chat. Thank you so much. Trent says, it's crazy to me that this isn't obvious. People don't use their own money to marry someone they don't share the same values with. Exactly. I agree with that. I feel like, you know what? You might not share 100% of the same ideology, values, or whatever with your spouse or your friends or whatever. But to full blown marry someone, I think that typically you're at least, all right, at least I would hope that you will align on at least like the most important things, right? And it seems like to Adam, punching down on poor people is a very important, part of his identity and his life. So it definitely does make me look at Tamera differently. And I'm still shook. I'm still shook by it all. And again, the fact that she paid for that wedding, that entirely is crazy to me. This man is supposed to come from this rich family. He's supposed to be against people getting things for free. And you're giving him a wedding for free after you had to beg and cry, scream, and throw up for him to marry you and break up with him, run around town dropping it like it's hot so that he'd miss you and stuff. Like, girl. Oh my God. But you know what? Chip, chip, cheerio. Tia met her husband at the bus stop. So like her marrying him and paying for the wedding, that's not surprising to me anyway. I'm just saying. Theo says, it's ironic that so many Fox News hosts like him come from affluent families and go on to complain about how they hate giving out handouts to poor people. Hypocrites. And I completely agree. Like a lot of people just do not see the hypocrisy in their actions. And it's just wild to me sometimes, especially when it comes to this sort of thing. Oh, East Awesome says in West Indian culture, the woman's family pays for the basic wedding. I had no idea about that. Thank you for educating us on that. That's crazy. Oh, because she's Bahamian, right? Through her mom. So maybe that was one of the traditions that they had going on there, I guess. I don't know. Brittany says, I love them both growing up. Actually, my kids and I watched 17 again this past weekend, but they're giving a lot of cringe lately. And I agree, Britt. I tried to watch Tamera's new show that she released late last year, and it was just so heavy. And I get it. She's going through a hard time, but it was like not enjoyable at all to watch. So I stopped, and she won't like stop talking about this divorce, which, it's sad that she's going through it, but I wish she would, champion other more positive things that she's got going on in life in addition to sharing about this. But she's all about this right now. And it is true that Tamera, just based off of who her husband is, I'm looking at her funny too. Star says, I don't think she paid for it all because on the show, when they met with the wedding planner, she consulted him to raise the budget. Then I wonder why she would go sit up on that show and brag about paying for that wedding, right? Very, very odd. Ooh, we got another interesting comment here. Precious says, Tia made an MLK post for his birthday. Tamera didn't. Y'all, I love the way y'all clock these twins. East says, Tamera was hinting at her conservative views on her old talk show, but she's never been outspoken. Don't let me find out that Tam Tam is the new Candace Owens and donating to fascists. You know what I will tell you on that front to you, East Awesome, and everybody else watching? Don't be surprised if one day The View comes knocking, and then Tamera goes full-blown mask off, because they do always need like one of those types of women on the show to really like, have the arguments and the discussions and the debates that show is so famous for, right? Milan says that's why Tamera and Lonnie are not close anymore. You think so? So she was hiding it initially, like, kind of closeted, and then eventually she came out with it. Listen, that happened to me and one of my friends. I had a good friend here, for a couple of years. And then when things started getting really bad with like the genocide and everything, and then she told me that like all Palestinians kind of deserve to get exterminated. I said, oh, wow, we can't be friends. Like that is a very, very scary way to look at people, and just, wow. And I'm still shaken up by that, and it's been well over a year. So I understand, and I imagine that was difficult for Lonnie, because Lonnie loved Tamera. She loved those kids. She loved that family, right? And so like, I don't think that it's for no reason at all. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case there. Hold My Foot Joe says, I had no idea. This makes me sad. As a woman of color, it seems like maybe Tamera is struggling with self-hatred. I wouldn't, something that always struck me as really weird about her, Hold My Foot Joe, and my mother even thought the same thing, and she made fun of her for it for the longest time, was when they were doing the genealogy tests on The Real, and then she found out that she had like some of her ancestors were slaves. And I was like, how out of touch are you? You are part Bahamian. How did you think that they got there? Like, what? Like, it was the weirdest thing ever. So she definitely is at least like halfway out of touch there. And it's sad. I think that is a negative testament to her upbringing finally. So Good luck to her. I don't know if she's going to address these like complaints or these rumors or this video. She no longer has the platform of the Real to get up there. I remember the last time that people were talking about her husband. What did she do? She went up there neck rolling, which I thought was weird. I felt like it was a weird character, right? She was like, my husband is not a racist. I was like, girl, you don't even talk like that. Why are you pretend? It was very, very weird. So there are a lot of very odd things in like the Tamera universe of it all. But I do think that she's going to ignore this and hope that it gets swept under the rug, because that is how the news cycle works, right? We get outraged about something, there's a controversy, but it disappears within days, weeks maximum, but within days typically. So I do personally think, as a former PR girly, it's in her best interest to just lay low, be quiet, and not to address this. And I do also agree with Millie, which is that, it would be really, really difficult, right, as a woman of color, a Black woman, to be with a man who held these sorts of views. I don't know how she does it. I would be disgusted. And I think just as a person in general, someone who is so rich, has never really known struggle, looking down on people who only know struggle, right, for buying junk food. And I'm sorry, but isn't that half of the modern American diet anyway, junk food? Like, why can you buy junk food, but someone who's poor does not have that same right to buy junk food? Like, leave people alone. Oh my God. Anyway, y'all, I'll keep an eye on this story. I really do not think that Tamera is going to come out and address it. But if she does, I definitely will be here on a morning report to talk about it with you guys. By the way, if you're enjoying this episode of the Morning Report, please don't hesitate to go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that you enjoy my content and you want to be notified the next time I go live.